Well, welcome back, boys and girls, I guess. Another episode here. This is episode 4 of the K10 build here, and it's a pretty exciting day. I got the motor I'm going to be putting in her. That's her, boys. Small block 350. It's got a Holly intake, and it's in pretty good shape. Paid $1,000 for it. So what I'm doing right now is I got the paint I need. This is for my frame. This stuff's good. I'm sorry, I know my last video I was working on cleaning the engine bay, but I'm going to get back to that. It's just I'm trying to do what I can on days I can, right? So I've got this Chevy orange here. I'm going to be spraying on the block and the heads. Motor's actually in really good shape, other than the paint's cracked. There's no oil or grease on it. Pretty damn good. My hands are filthy. I guess that wasn't a good way to show it, but yeah, it's in pretty good shape. So first thing I'm going to do is probably take off the intake and the water pump here in this bracket for the alternator, and start masking it up so nothing will get inside there. I don't want it to, because that would suck. So I'll start by masking it up, and I got some wire brushes here. I'm going to drill with this. Works pretty good, so let's get started. So the intake bolts are 9/16, and you're gonna have to get a little wrench in there, because depending on your intake, I guess. But my intake, it has a design here where you can't get the impact in there. And so I've got the alternator bracket off, the water pump off, all the bolts out of the intake. I'm going to be bagging and tagging everything I can, and I'll be taking this intake off now. So I got the intake off. You're going to want to be careful when you're removing it, because if your motor's in the shape. Mine's in the gasket was falling apart. You don't want shit falling down into your valves and stuff. So just be careful when you're scraping that off. A little bit of rust in this one. That was kind of sketchy, but it is what it is. So now that the intake's off and basically it's ready to be prepped, I'm going to start by using one of these chisels. It's got a razor blade on the end there, and just scraping off all the old gaskets and junk, all the gunk I can get off, stuff like that. And get rid of all the gaskets. Just be very careful when you're doing this, because you don't want stuff falling in your hoses, in your holes there, and getting in the water lines and your oil lines and into the valves or the heads. You don't want any of that happening, so just be careful when you do it. A lot of the time too, they will just kind of peel off, or it'll just break into 1,000 pieces like that. Oh, it wasn't that bad. So yeah. Another thing I should have mentioned that would be very nice to have when you're doing a job like this is a nice shop vac with a narrow head like that, so you can get in all the cracks and stuff and vacuum up what you need to in there. This stuff will fall. So I don't think you can start any job without forgetting at least one thing. So of course the one thing I forgot this time is carb cleaner, and it's pretty important for this job. So I've got some chemicals laying around the shop here. This is called CDN, Citrus Clean. It's a natural degreaser. I don't know how well it's going to actually work, but I'm going to try this stuff. The shitty thing about this stuff is you got to rinse it off really well, because it'll leave a residue, but it's not supposed to, but I think it does. It leaves a little bit of a residue, but I got acetone and methyl hydrate, so I can wipe it down afterwards. But if this doesn't work, I'll have to hop in the old Civic and head to Lordco and get a couple cans of that stuff, because I'm sure I will need it at one point. So this is about as far as I'm going to go before I mask everything. I've gotten all the gasket off of here. Nice and clean. I need to get some brake cleaner or some carb cleaner of some sort. Get that more clean, but I'm going to mask this all up. I'm going to start getting the wire brush on it and go from there. I got my help from my shop kitties here. Alright guys, so it's all masked up. I masked up the engine stand. It's not mine, and I got to return it once I'm finished this. And all the grease and stuff is basically off. I've washed it as much as I can. It's basically just bare metal now, so it's looking pretty good. I'm just going to shake up the can here for a bit and get it all mixed up good and put a coat on.
In here or what?
So the motor's painted. This is 3 coats on it. I mean, it looks pretty damn good. I'm not trying to go for a show truck here or anything. I just wanted to clean it up because I'm got it out of the truck anyway, so I might as well. And while this is drying, I'm gonna work on just giving this a touch up. I'm gonna paint it black. I got this paint here from Lordco. It's pretty awesome stuff. It's for trim and stuff like that, and it dries really quick, flashes off really nicely, so probably use that for the water pump. And I'm going to paint this bracket just because it's out too, for shits and giggles, might as well. It's going pretty good. Alright guys, so I'm just working on the water pump here. I actually took the old one out of my original motor because it's in a lot better shape. I mean, the outside's got surface rust, but you can see on the inside it's actually in really good shape, no rust at all. This one's a lot older. Gasket's just puking out there and seen better days. So I think I'm going to use this one for sure. Also going to be cleaning this, the intake and the alternator bracket. Pretty simple stuff. So I'm gonna take wire brushes to this stuff here while he's taking that to the alternator bracket. It should work pretty good. Alright, so we've taken some wire brushes to this, to all these parts. Now we're just going to spray it down with some degreaser. It should work pretty good. This stuff's pretty good. You just got to let it soak for about 20 minutes and then rinse it off, and it works pretty damn well. Yeah, this stuff's a little harsh on the lungs, so don't breathe it in. Alright, so we sprayed it all down, let it sit for a good 10 or 20 minutes, and then you'd also, I guess, use the wire brush in this process and scrub it with that stuff on, but I'm just going to let it sit and rinse it off. Okay, so these have been soaking for quite a bit. We're going to rinse them off now with the hose. I'm just going to blow it off with air.
This one's about halfway out. Right, she's looking pretty good. Oh yeah.
So the water pump looks a hell of a lot better. I'm gonna wipe it down with some methyl hydrate now and give her a spray. This looks good too, but it's nothing too major. It's just a alternator bracket. I also think I'm going to mask this piece off because it's not supposed to be a color, it's supposed to be a little metal, so I'm just going to mask that off and try to keep it looking stock. Hard to paint this stuff because there's so many nicks and crannies you gotta get into. Doing lots of angles. Just gotta step back and look at it for a second, see where you've missed. I always do one light coat and then I do one thick coat with this stuff. These are really decent. So it's all dry and painted. I think it's pretty good facelift for what it is. It cost me really anything to do other than the paint I used. A little bit of sanding. Alright guys, so I'm just at home here and that's basically going to be a wrap on this video, but what I'm going to do here until I work on it again next weekend, is I'm going to be soaking all these bolts in some apple cider vinegar to get all the rust and grease and stuff off. And I just got some spare pop cans here that I'm using, and I'm going to label them all up. I'm also going to take a bag because I don't want my place smelling like apple cider vinegar, so I'm going to take a baggie here, like so. Just got a elastic band put on the top. So I'm just going to let these bolts soak for a good 5 days or so until next weekend, and then I'll be installing all the parts that I've taken off and getting them more close to being put in the truck. So thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned.